Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. A couple things before we get started. Although I do happen to be standing upon a yoga mat, if you're without one, just find an area that's maybe a little bit like this rug I've got here in the living room. Someplace that is not too slippery or hard, and that can be your yoga mat for today. I have 2 yoga blocks. A great substitute for those could be 2 thick books. And I always encourage you to use what you've got around you. So folded blankets from your couch or towels if you want to pad your knees, or cushions from your couch to sit on to make things feel a little bit more manageable, a little bit more doable. We'll start in what's called child's pose. So make your way to the floor, and child's pose is different for all of us. So sometimes you'll hear instruction about sitting back onto your heels, but for a lot of us, that kind of flexion, bend in our knees is just not going to happen. So the fun of this practice is that we get to make it our own. We are the expert of our own bodies. You could curl your toes under. This might be a great place to throw that folded blanket under your knees. And then we'll reach our arms forward, and those of us who don't want quite as much bend to our knees can just find our way into something with our head above the ground, or our forehead could even lower onto one of our books or blocks. Maybe you uncurl your toes and sink your hips toward your heels. That's not better than, it's just different than. And we'll take a moment in this child's pose to turn the arrows of attention inward. And we'll use our breath as a tool to do that. Our breath goes in and our breath goes out. Our mind is capable of going about 1,000,000 different directions. Try to focus on that rise and fall. Let it drop us into this moment. Bring yourself to hands and knees. And once you're on hands and knees, line up your shoulders right over your wrists. So our hands are not too far forward, they're not too far back where that would be a bit too much on our wrists. They're really nice, like nice sturdy vertical poles underneath our shoulders. And we'll focus on what it is to build some shoulder stability and also some shoulder flexibility. But right now it's our stability. So I'd like for you to push the ground away, and then just notice for a moment, if you don't do that, that you collapse into your joints, which is not what we want. So we'll push the ground away, and now we're actually using muscles in our shoulder girdle, but in our core. Curl your toes under, and for a moment as you continue to push the ground away, let's lift our knees just an inch off of our mat. We'll feel core, we'll feel the stability in our shoulders that we need, and then just place those knees back down again. You'd like to think of the circumference of both of your palms plugging into the ground, so we're not on keyboards as we set our foundation. And it's our foundation that determines what happens above it in our shoulders. One more time, push the ground away, and let's hover our knees above our mat. Then bring your knees down onto your mat, and bring your forearms down onto your mat, interlacing your hands. So this is a bit of a karate chop, and that karate chop will be the sturdiness, the steadiness, the stability in our shoulders. Walk your knees a little wider than hip distance, just in case, and walk your feet about mat distance. Continue to push the ground away with your karate chop of your forearms, and carefully, like there's a hook in your tailbone, let your hips lift up to any degree. You can keep your knees bent. This could be very short-lived. What I don't want is a collapse into your shoulders. So keep the karate chop pushing, and then let's lower our knees back down again. Holy smokes, right? If that was a little too much, stay right here and just work pushing your forearms down, and don't worry about lifting your knees. If you've got one more of those in you, let's karate chop the ground and lift our hips up. It's almost like we're flirting with a down dog on our forearms. Remember, we're not collapsed into our shoulders, so keep pushing that ground away, and then let's bring our knees back down onto the ground. And we'll walk our feet a little and knees a little closer to each other, and then come back onto our hands and knees, just as we did at the beginning. Now remember, we're lining up our shoulders over our wrists. And now I'm going to ask you to walk your knees about 5 inches back. Remember when we collapsed into our shoulders, which we don't want? Push the ground away actively, now with a little bit more forward and back distance. Continue to push the ground away as you shift forward. Actively push the ground away as you make your way all the way onto your belly. And once you're on your belly, uncurl your toes and press the tops of your feet down so we activate our legs. Bring your forearms on your mat and let your forearms be parallel to those long edges of your mat. Same thing here. We karate chop a little bit and then we'll traction our elbows towards us so that our heart moves through the gateway of our arms. This is a little bit of shoulder flexibility. So a little bit of shoulder extension. Press into the tops of your feet once again. Remind your legs to work. And we don't want to be too in our neck or low back for this. So let your chin be parallel to the ground. And there's almost a sense of tucking your tailbone, although that's not really going to happen. Now lower yourself down so you can inch, just an inch, your elbows towards you. Curl your toes under and find the karate chop that we found earlier. In fact, let's use our interlace as we did before. So find that interlace and karate chop. And now lift your belly and your hips, and here we are on our knees in a bit of a modified forearm plank. This is plenty, especially if you're tempted to collapse. Let's not collapse. If you can maintain this karate chop and lift your knees for a moment, you might do that, and then we'll bring our knees back down again, and all of us will release down into what's called Sphinx. That's our back bend. Unlace your hands, traction your elbows towards you, heart moves through the gateway of our arms. We'll try that one more time. So I think that interlace is a nice thing to sport. Curl your toes under, get the karate chop happening right away, and then lift your belly and your hips. Let's pause with our knees down and maybe stay there, but be certain that we're not collapsed into our joints. We've got our muscles firing. Maybe lift your knees just for a moment. And then bring your knees down, unlace your hands, lower to your belly. And once you're on your belly this time, bring your arms alongside you, palms face down. Press down into your hands and go forward and up with your chest, but let your collarbones smile. So you're lifting from the heads of your arm bones. This is a place where I will remind you not to use your chin too much. Now just let your hands glide up off your mat. I'm still pressing the tops of my feet down. I want to focus on my shoulders here. It might be that a kitchen towel or some towel somewhere is handy to put in between your hands here. It could be that some of you will interlace your hands and then use that interlace to drag your knuckles back behind you and open up your shoulders a little bit more. We're not in a chase to overstretch. And there's great value in not holding on and seeing where the range of motion goes. Now we'll lower down, bring our hands onto our mat, curl our toes under, come to all fours, and as we do that, let's find our sturdy shoulders. And then we'll make our way to our child's pose, and remember that can be quite far forward, toes curled under, whatever it is that worked for you at the beginning. We'll just digest a little bit of shoulder stability and mobility. Same idea as we come to hands and knees as when we had our interlaced hands. Take your hands a bit in front of you, they're shoulder distance apart. Push the ground away and imagine that you're pushing your mat away from you, and find the hook in your tailbone that lifts your hips up and back. And now we're in down dog, and I highly recommend walking your feet as wide as your mat, bending your knees and being on the balls of your feet. And now let's take that pushing the ground away a step further and feel evidence of it in our back body, our side body, and our front body. You might walk your feet a little closer to each other. You might think about sinking your heels down, but mostly let's keep the activity of pushing the ground away and staying sturdy in our shoulders and long in our torso. Walk your feet to your hands. We arrive at the front of our mat, hip distance and parallel. Take your hands to your thighs. Inhale, lift your heart. And then exhale, hinge and fold. We inhale, rise, reach. Our bellies are firm, our thumbs are to the sky. And then let's stand in what's called mountain pose. And we feel evidence of our Sphinx as we stand here. Our heart to the sky. Inhale, Arms reach up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs. So we know this is not a rounding fold, but a hinge at our hips. You might hinge a little deeper and slide your hands down, but the hinge and the length in your spine are essential. Slide your hands up, inhale, and then bend your knees as deeply as you need to plug your hands into your mat and step back into down dog. Your feet could be as wide as your mat. Remember, we're pushing the ground away. Let's come into a plank with our shoulders over our wrists like we did, and you might bring your knees down right away to give yourself a little bit of support. We don't collapse into our joints, we push the ground away, and now all of us will bring our knees down onto our mat and continue pushing the ground away as we lower all the way to our belly. Once we're on our bellies, uncurl your toes, traction your hands towards you into cobra. Remember, it's not shoulders in our ears and chin out in front of us. There's an elegance. We'll lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours and find that sturdy shoulder girdle as you go, and then a hook in our tailbone lifts us up and back. We push the ground away in our down dog. Walk your feet to your hands, your hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up your shins, inhale. Exhale, hinge back in. Then we inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky. We'll stand in our mountain with some evidence of our beautiful back bend, lifting our heart to the sky. Let's try that again. Sun salutation A. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs or shins or maybe ankles. Inhale, glide your hands up and bend your knees deeply. Palms go flat, down dog. We push the ground away. We are solid in our shoulders from the get-go. Come to plank, shoulders over wrists, and then bring your knees to your mat. Drift a bit forward, push the ground away the whole time as you come to your belly. Uncurl your toes, find the elegance of our cobra pose, and then lower down and curl your toes under, come through all fours. And then our hands are pushing the ground away, our hips are lifting up, and we head to down dog. Walk your feet all the way up to your hands. Glide your hands to your shins. Inhale, lift your heart, and then exhale, we hinge back in. We will inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V, and then we stand with our arms along our sides, palms facing out. One more time through that sun salutation, A. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up as we inhale, bend your knees. Palms flat, we push the ground away, and we lift our hips up and back for down dog. Shoulders right over wrists, and we push the ground away as our knees come down and eventually continue to push as we lower to our bellies. Uncurl your toes and come to cobra pose. And then lower down, curl your toes under. We come through all fours. And then it's up and back for our down dog. Walk your feet carefully forward to your hands, hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Glide your hands down, exhale. We will inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V, and then we stand here in our mountain. You might take your two books and place them off the side of your mat, on the long edge of your mat. This will become the back edge of our mat, and the other long edge will be the front. Facing that, what we've determined to be the front, take your arms wide out to the side, thumbs to the sky, and then step your ankles underneath your wrists. So that's a good starting point to set up our warrior two. Turn your right leg so that your right foot faces that short edge of your mat. Then sneak this left heel at a 45-degree angle. And then as we bend our right knee, we might want to scooch our 2 feet wider apart from one another so the vertical line from our right knee to our right ankle can happen. And then just straighten your legs for a moment and lower your arms. Let's introduce what we're going to do in our shoulders here in our warrior two stance. And you might want your kitchen towel or a towel. Take your right arm to the sky, thumb to the sky, and then pat yourself on the back. This is where you might have your kitchen towel in that right hand and drop it down as an assist. Left arm out to the side, thumb faces down for a moment, just so we can place the back of our left hand to the small of our back, and that might be it. There's a bit of shoulder mobility happening here. Perhaps you walk that left hand up your back like there's an itch between your shoulder blades. Maybe you walk your right hand down. You might even be able to hold hands with yourself behind your back. I think most of us, a towel or strap's going to be a great plan. Let's keep our arms like this, our shoulders opening, and bend our right knee. And now we've got Warrior Two in our foundation and a shoulder stretch. We're opening our shoulders and our hips at the same time. If you need to straighten that front leg and rebend it, absolutely fine. Hug your right hip beneath you and try to note where the stickiness in your shoulders might cause a habit of tension. And instead, let's back it off to a place where there's freedom. 3 moments together here. Now we'll straighten that front leg and carefully release our arms. This is not a side bend, but instead a hinge. So lift your left hip, feel this right hip hinge, and we will reach way out with our right hand. And you might find your shin or your thigh, but I'm a huge fan of using that Booker block on the outside of your right foot. Left arm is up to the sky, and then as if it were doing what it just did, turn your thumb down and place the back of your left hand to the small of your back without letting this left shoulder collapse forward. So you might sneak it into that hinge at your hip. Let's inhale, lengthen to our spine, and exhale, rotate through our waist to turn our chest to the sky and to open this top shoulder. We're also opening our bottom shoulder in that we are spinning the inner upper arm, that right arm, that bottom arm, away from your torso, creating some space. We'll stay here for 3 moments. Put a little teeny bit of bend in that right knee. Keep this left arm behind your back. Swoop your right arm forward, and we'll just reach back a little bit. So a bit of a stretch here in the front of our right leg. If you can, keep that left arm tucked back behind you. We're still opening up that shoulder. And let's bend our right knee. So now we're back into that warrior stance, something called a reversed warrior for a moment. We'll just take this right forearm across our right thigh and use it as some leverage to continue opening up our shoulders and our chest here. It's that mobility I promised. 3 moments together here. Now let's slowly come upright and release our arms. We'll straighten our front leg, turn all of our toes to face the long edge of our mat, scoot any props out of the way, and then turn your left leg out so that left foot is facing the short edge of your mat, and we'll sneak our right heel at that 45-degree angle. Before we bend our knee, although we can check our spacing for a moment, make sure that vertical line is happening, we'll re-straighten that leg. Left arm to the sky, thumb to the sky, and it might be that you've got your kitchen towel at the ready there. Right arm, thumb faces down, back of your right hand to the small of your back, and to any extent, those two might move a little bit towards one another. Once we feel like we've got that going on, we'll bend our left knee, and here we are in our Warrior Two stance with a shoulder flexion and extension stretch happening at the same time. Hug that left hip underneath you instead of letting it swing back behind you. And then let's take a little bit of quiet time to stretch and breathe. Now we'll carefully straighten our front leg, release our arms wide. Remember, it's a hinge, not a side bend. So hinge at that left hip, reach way out with your left hand, and then probably find your block. It could be that you find your ankle or shin. Just be careful not to push too hard into hyperextension there. Top arm, right arm, the thumb faces down, and it's back of our right hand to the small of our back. maybe even wiggling it into that hip hinge. And then every inhale we grow long, and every exhale we are rotating through our chest towards the sky, and we're freeing up that right shoulder. Also making sure it's spacious in our left shoulder. Let's take a few moments here. Same idea. We want a little teeny micro bend in our left leg and firm belly as we come up. We'll keep this right arm behind our back, left thumb to the sky, and we just reach up and back. Some people call it a reverse triangle. And we'll keep that as we bend our left knee. Keep this right arm behind your back if you don't mind, and we take our left forearm across that left thigh, and then karate chop. Rotate our left ribs to the sky, let our shoulders open. We heated them up with a lot of stability work. Here we are in the mobility work. 2 more moments. Now we'll upright our torso slowly and free our arms out, and then straighten that front leg and turn all of your toes to face this long edge of your mat. I'm going to recommend that you use a t-shirt, a towel, a kitchen towel. It could be that the interlace, like we did on our belly, works for you here. Let's lift our hearts, and then remember it's a hinge at our hips. I would recommend a little bit of bend in your knees, and your arms cascade up and over to any extent. It's called shoulder extension. It was like the bottom arm in our configuration just a moment ago. Now firm through your belly, place your hands on your hips. If you have a strap, you can just hold it in one of your hands, and we'll make our way all the way upright. We heel toe, until we can make our way back to the front edge of our mat. Feet are hip distance and parallel. We'll take ourselves into a chair pose, V-shaping our arms to the sky. Your weight is back and down, not loading your knees. Hands into a prayer. Left elbow on the inside of that left thigh is great. It could be left elbow on the outside of your right thigh, but let's keep the inhale growing our spine, and the exhale is a little loving nudge into a twist that's right here in our waist and opening into our shoulders. Come to center if you'd like. You can straighten your legs or keep your knees bent. Right elbow either on the inside of that right thigh or right elbow on the outside of that left thigh. Every inhale we grow long, and every exhale it's a little bit of a loving nudge. 2 more moments. Now we'll come down the middle and V-shape our arms to the sky. We're facing that short edge. I'm adjusting a little. And then we'll hinge at our hips and hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, glide your hands up, bend your knees deeply, palms go flat. We step to down dog, and we remember that we need to push the ground away as we do. Come into a plank position, shoulders are over wrists, and then we'll bring our knees down on our mat and make it more of a hands and knees. We'll play with that stability, and we will extend our right leg back behind us as if you were flirting with doing a plank. Keep oomphing into that right shoulder and take your left arm forward with your thumb to the sky. It means we have to keep track of what's happening in that right shoulder. Lift your right leg off your mat, and the arm and leg reach away from each other. We keep the stability in that load-bearing right shoulder, and you might have your toes curled under on your left side. Bring your left hand down and your right knee down. If you need to shake wrists out, go for it. Remember, shoulders are over wrists. Step that left foot back. Make sure your left shoulder is solid as your right arm reaches forward to possibly shake hands, and then we'll lift our left leg and our right arm and extend them away from each other as we pay close attention to keeping some strength in that left shoulder. And then place your right hand down and your left knee down. We'll come to a seated, cross-legged position, And let's cross our right shin in front of our left shin. And instead of crossing at the ankles, walk those feet so that your knees are atop your ankles. And this is where sitting on a cushion from your couch, sitting on one of your books or blocks is a great idea. We want to grow tall. We're not collapsing. We're wearing some of the work that we did in our shoulders into a seated position. Inhale, we V-shape. And now turn to your right. Take the back of your right hand to the outside of that right thigh. And then take your right hand back behind you. Let's inhale and grow tall. And exhale, just a little bit of a twist here. Unwind. Take your right hand to the sky, thumb to the sky, back of your hand, your left hand to the small of your back, and then just for a moment, we see what we find. Don't worry about the strap if it's not nearby. Gently release your arms and release your legs. Give them a little waggle out in front of you. And now we'll cross our left shin in front of our right shin and perch ourselves up on blocks or cushions. Remember, we want to have ankles underneath knees. That's just going to get into our glutes a little bit better. We'll V-shape our arms to the sky and turn to the left. And now it's the back of your right hand to the outside of your left thigh. And you've got your left fingertips on the ground or even on a book or block. We inhale and grow tall, and we exhale and twist. And then we'll unwind. Take your left arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. Back of your right hand to the small of your back as you pat yourself on the back. Don't worry about how far it does or doesn't happen to go. Just a couple moments doing the same shoulder stretch that we did in our warrior pose, but here in a seated hip stretch. Let your arms release, but stay with your legs in this cross-legged position unless it's just not comfortable enough for a 2-minute meditation. We'll end with our meditation, but let's not forget what we found along the way in our shoulders. Let's sit tall. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable, or just soften your gaze. This is our moment to digest all that we did, stability and mobility-wise. 2 minutes. Last 30 seconds together here. And you can start to blink your eyes open. Maybe you'd like to waggle your legs out in front of you or shift around a little bit. Let's notice one more time before we take all this shoulder work with us out into the world where I think the real yoga happens. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I look forward to us doing this again together soon.